Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. We were 2 bites into dessert when Evelyn laughed and said the words that would change everything. Everyone, she said, lifting her champagne glass with a grin so wide it looked rehearsed. I've decided. I'm divorcing Mike, finally free of him. She laughed. Not nervous, not a sad one. A real, sharp, triumphant laugh like she'd just won something. The table went silent. We were at a private dinner on the top floor of that modern glass-walled place Evelyn always raved about. Her boss, Mateo Ramirez, had invited the executive team and their partners to celebrate a big client win. Candlelight, jazz, expensive wine. It was supposed to be one of those nights where everyone smiled too much and pretended they liked each other. Then Evelyn dropped it. Mateo's wife froze with her fork midair. I could feel the discomfort crawl across the table. Evelyn sat there glowing, waiting for my meltdown. But I just looked at her and smiled. Indeed, I said. That was it. No scene, no drama. Her smile twitched, like she didn't know what to do with that. She let out a little fake chuckle. Well, I guess he took it better than I expected. I turned to Mateo. Food's excellent, by the way. You've got good taste. The silence was painful. People tried to start small talk again, but the damage was done. Evelyn had come for a performance. I hadn't given her the script she wanted. In the car, she was furious. You're unbelievable, she snapped. You made me look like a lunatic. You didn't need my help for that, I said, eyes on the road. You could have at least acted surprised. Why? You've clearly been planning this. You think you're clever. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I already knew something she'd forgotten. 12 years ago, she signed a prenup. And this time, her laughter wasn't going to save her. The silence at home was even colder. Evelyn stormed inside first, threw her purse onto the couch, and kicked off her heels like they were weapons. I locked the door behind me and headed to the kitchen. She was pacing, arms crossed, waiting for me to explode. You think this is a game? She snapped. No, you do, I said slowly. She scoffed. Don't act smug. You're not walking away from this clean, Mike. I've earned half of everything. You think just because you're quiet, you're in control? I turned to face her. You remember the agreement you signed, right? The prenup? She rolled her eyes. Oh, that thing? That was 12 years ago. I was practically pressured into it. You had your own lawyer. You signed willingly. I paid her fees, remember? That's not going to hold up, she said, crossing her arms. I've already spoken to someone. Before your little performance tonight? She didn't respond. Evelyn, I said calmly, I'm not going to argue. I'll send the prenup and relevant documents to Claire Jensen. She'll be handling everything going forward. Evelyn's face fell slightly. She knew that name. Claire was my lawyer. Tough, polished, zero nonsense. You're lawyering up already? She said, like I'd betrayed her. You made your move. I'm just playing my side of the board. She narrowed her eyes. You're enjoying this? No, I walked past her. But I'm ready for it. I went into the office, shut the door, and forwarded everything to Claire. The prenup, the financials, the message history. Everything she'd need. 15 minutes later, I got her reply. Got it. We'll hold the line. No direct contact. All communication comes through me now. That suited me just fine, because Evelyn forgot I'd seen this coming for years, and I never go into a fight without being over-prepared. A few days later, Evelyn packed up and moved into the lake house. It was meant to be our weekend retreat. Quiet, private. Now she was treating it like leverage. The first letter from Evelyn's lawyer arrived a week later. It was aggressive, the kind of letter meant to intimidate if you didn't know better. They wanted a fair and equitable split of 50-50. Evelyn was requesting full rights to the lake house, monthly alimony of $15,000, and half of my company's assets. The same company I started 6 years before I even met her. Claire called me the moment she finished reading the letter. She didn't waste time. The demands were baseless, inflated, and designed to provoke a reaction. The kind of opening move you send when you're hoping the other side gets nervous and folds early. But there was nothing to fold. The terms were already written, signed, and ironclad. She sent our response the same day. It was brief, emotionless, and firm. We were holding the line. No negotiations. The prenup stood, and their fantasy math wasn't even worth entertaining. That's when Evelyn switched tactics. That night, she texted me, Mike, let's not do this the hard way. We can settle this like adults." I didn't respond. I forwarded the text to Claire with a note. "She's trying to bypass counsel." Then I blocked Evelyn's number. The next day she texted me from a different number. "You're being cruel. I gave you the best years of my life." Blocked that one too. I wasn't going to let her bait me into some emotional detour. She wanted legal? She was getting legal. Nothing more. The day after that, her brother Jason showed up at my office. He leaned against the reception desk like he owned the place. "Mike," he said, "don't you think you're being a little harsh here? Evelyn's hurting. She should talk to her lawyer. She thought you'd be reasonable." "Jason, I'm sticking to the contract she signed. She was younger then. She didn't know what she was doing. She knew enough to demand a newer car the day after the honeymoon." He flinched. "We're done here." Jason left, muttering something about karma. But it wasn't karma. It was paperwork, and Evelyn was about to learn that even in love, contracts matter. Evelyn stopped playing nice after that. When legal threats didn't work and emotional appeals didn't land, she moved on to pressure tactics, subtle at first, then messy. One morning I started getting hang-up calls from unknown numbers, 3 or 4 a day. Then my receptionist mentioned someone had called asking if I was mentally stable, refused to give a name, just hung up after planting the seed. Claire wasn't surprised when I told her about the anonymous calls and hang-ups. She recognized the tactic immediately, a subtle attempt to build a paper trail to paint me as unstable if things escalated to court. Her advice was direct and strategic. Document everything, stay calm, and give them nothing they could twist. Then came the call to my company's HR department. Anonymous complaint. Claimed I was erratic, hostile, and using corporate resources to fund the divorce battle. Word got to the investors. They requested a meeting. I walked in with everything prepared. Full access to my emails, logs, and calendar records. Claire had already forwarded a formal statement confirming the nature of the legal dispute, complete with timestamps and documentation. It was over within a few hours, but it went in the file. Another failed hit. The real escalation came a week later. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home when the doorbell rang 5 times fast. I checked the camera. Evelyn, standing there with her friend Camille. I opened the door with the chain still on. "Evelyn, this isn't how we're doing this." "You won't answer my texts," she said, arms crossed. "I'm being shut out." "You have a lawyer. Talk to her." "This is my life too, Mike. You're treating me like a stranger. You chose that route the minute you hired someone to draft a fantasy settlement." Camille chimed in. "She just wants to talk. Then she can schedule it through her counsel." I closed the door. 5 minutes later, I emailed Claire. Unannounced visit. Witness present. Attempted to bypass legal boundaries. No response given. Door closed. File accordingly. This wasn't drama for me. It was documentation. What she didn't understand was, I'd stopped caring the day she turned it into a spectacle. The cracks started showing in week 4. Claire called one morning, her tone steady but with an edge that signaled something important. She'd uncovered a hidden brokerage account, just over $200,000, opened in Evelyn's name 3 years earlier. It hadn't been listed in the financial disclosures. That kind of omission wasn't just an oversight. It was a violation of discovery rules, and Claire made it clear we had every right to pursue sanctions. I didn't hesitate. I gave her the go-ahead without second-guessing. Evelyn had chosen her strategy, and now she'd face the consequences. Claire sent a formal notice to Evelyn's legal team. Within 24 hours, they responded with a panicked explanation. It was an oversight, they claimed. A technicality. Claire responded with a threat to file a motion if further inaccuracies appeared. That's when Evelyn's lawyer, David Lyon, changed his tune. "We'd like to revisit the terms," he said. "See if there's any middle ground." Claire was ice. "There is no middle ground. The agreement is signed, enforceable, and comprehensive. If your client wants to avoid court scrutiny, she'll adhere to it." The balance was shifting, and Evelyn knew it. That weekend, she tried again. Another number, another text. "I made a mistake. We should have talked more." I didn't even forward that one, just blocked it and moved on. By Monday, Claire sent me an update. David Lyon had asked for a private meeting to de-escalate. They were folding. They wanted out before this got worse. And the irony? All of this started because she thought she could humiliate me in front of a dozen people. Now she was the one scrambling for dignity, and I hadn't even raised my voice once. It was the first Saturday in 2 months I didn't wake up to legal emails or surprise calls. Instead, I got a knock on my door at 9 a.m. I checked the camera feed. Evelyn? Alone. I opened the door just a crack, chain still on. Her eyes were red. Makeup was streaked. "Mike," she said, her voice barely holding. "Please." I kept my voice even. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," she said, nodding fast. I don't know what else to do." "You call your lawyer. That's how this works now." She leaned against the frame. "I'm losing everything. Do you even care?" "I cared," I said. "Before you laughed about divorcing me in front of a room full of people. Before you tried to take everything I built and then lied about your own finances." Her face twisted. "I didn't lie. You hid $200,000 and tried to sabotage my reputation." She didn't argue. That silence told me everything. "I gave you 12 years, she finally said. "I was there when the company was nothing. I supported you." I nodded. "And I supported you too, Evelyn. You wanted the house? I bought it. You wanted a sabbatical from work? I covered it. But when it came time to talk honestly about our problems, you skipped to the ending and tried to write me out of it." Tears welled in her eyes. "You're going to let me walk away with nothing? You're walking away with exactly what you agreed to. That prenup was there to protect both of us. You signed it." She shook her head. "You were never this cold." I met her eyes. "No, but I was never this clear either." I closed the door without slamming it. 5 minutes later, I called Claire and gave her a full rundown. She added it to the file, logged the incident as another attempt to bypass counsel. And that was the last time I saw Evelyn in person. 3 weeks later, it was over. Claire called me on a Thursday morning to confirm what I'd been waiting to hear. The final documents were signed and filed. The divorce was officially over. There were no surprises in the outcome. The final split followed the prenup exactly. I kept 80% of the marital assets, retained 100% of what I owned before the marriage, maintained full control of the business, and held on to the lake house. Evelyn walked away with 20% of the shared assets, her personal belongings, and the car. The hidden brokerage account had been claimed and declared during discovery. No penalties were filed. In the end, Evelyn didn't have the stomach for a drawn-out court battle. Her lawyer must have realized how badly it would go for them and talked her down before she pushed it any further. I leaned back in my chair and let the quiet settle in. No anger, just a sense of completion. Claire had done her job. No slip-ups, nothing they could use against me. A week later, Evelyn moved out of the lake house. I didn't go. I sent a crew to pack up the last of her things. They delivered it all to the new apartment she'd rented in the East End. I heard she was trying to rebrand. New social media accounts, posting inspirational quotes about freedom and fresh starts. Someone said she was pitching herself as a life coach. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. She got what she asked for, a clean break. She underestimated how fast silence can cut when it's backed by a signed contract. And while she spent her last days clinging to damage control, I spent mine reclaiming my peace. Love without clarity turns into debt, and that trust without protection is a gamble most people lose. Evelyn taught me that. Or maybe I just let her. Because looking back now, I can't even blame her completely. The signs were there, the lifestyle inflation, the small lies, the performative affection at parties. But I let it slide, thinking commitment would somehow iron out the wrinkles. It doesn't. It just hides them longer. The house is quieter now, not empty. It's just peaceful. Evelyn is free of me now. But she's also free of the lifestyle, the structure, and the safety net that came with being loved by a man who planned for everything, including the end. She thought she was pulling a lever that would drop me into a pit. She didn't realize the ground she was standing on was made of paperwork with her signature on it. I didn't get revenge. I got a resolution. She got attention. I got clarity. Thank you for watching.